Welcome everybody to the live stream. It is good to be with you here on a Monday evening, sipping a nice, bourbon. And why is there echo? What do you mean echo? No. Is there echo? There's no echo. Blunty, is there echo? There's not echo. You threw me off my vibe. Oh my God. Let's try it again. Welcome everybody to the live stream. It's good to be here with you on a Monday evening. I knew there was no. I've had some issues with my sound devices lately. I've had a few issues I've been working on, so it was possible there was an echo. Skydozer, do you have multiple windows open? Let's all try and solve Skydozer's problem. Yeah, me too. Okay, I'm going to close that window, and we're going to focus. We're going to focus. Okay. Once again, thank you to Rect. Once again, thank you to Rect, who is sponsoring the shirt for today's stream by sending me a giant box of t-shirts. And every day when I come to a live stream, I just grab another one out of the box and quick put it on. Just came downstairs topless, threw a shirt on, and it happens to be this one, Quad Gas. I don't know if this is this a reference to something funny, or is it just a cool shirt? But Rect makes some nice FPV t-shirt designs. Go check them out. Thank you for sending me clothes, Rect. Okay, now we've paid the bills. Let's get to the questions. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to answer questions. Answer questions about FPV. Your questions in the chat. Blunty's queuing them up, and I'm going to knock them down. Here we go. Faintfield asks, I have a TBS all-in-one that's supposed to be rated for 2S, but if I have the flight controller plugged in through USB and try to plug in a 2S LiPo, it burns the board out. It's happened twice in a row. What would cause that? I don't know, but you should contact TBS about that. Okay? It should never be a problem to have USB and battery plugged in at the same time. That should never be a problem. It has been a problem on some flight controllers in the past, okay? In some cases, if you have battery plugged in and you have a digital video transmitter on a certain UART, and then you plug in USB, the digital video transmitter will mess with the flight controller's UARTs in a way that makes USB not work. That's true, okay? But nothing will fry. That's kind of what I'm saying. In some cases, there are little interactions where, depending on what UART something's soldered into, you could get the USB might not work, but nothing should fry. Nothing should ever fry. This is the Newbie Drone Hummingbird RS race spec, and I noticed that when I plug in USB, when I plug in a battery, video works. When I plug in USB, the video transmitter turns off. And I don't know if that's intentional or not. It's a sample size of 1, and I haven't gone back to Newbie Drone to ask them, hey guys, is this normal? But when that happened to me, I thought, that's not right. So they shouldn't be burning. You need to ask TBS why they're burning. That's the bottom line. And it sounds like specifically it's when you have USB plugged in. So presumably you plugged the battery in with USB not plugged in and everything was fine. And then when you plugged in USB, it fried. So specifically, presumably you have like really nailed this down to being USB plus battery. Contact TBS and to be like, dudes, what's up? So Roberito, thank you. By the way, Roberito and Faintfield, both members of the Discord. Discord is where my patrons come and hang out, the people who support me every month. And so thank you guys for being patrons. Thank you for supporting me. It really means a lot. One of your youngin' Patreon members, Boo, got first place at the Fly Tribe's Beast of the East qualifier and deserves a shout out. Well, sure. Let's take a look at that. No, no, no. We can't do the music. I'm so sorry. I don't like to take chances getting a copyright strike or any other BS. So we're not going to play the music. This is he on YouTube. He is Boo FPV, 271 subscribers. Don't go subscribe to him yet. We're going to watch this freestyle run, and if it's epic, you should go subscribe to him. But only if it's epic. Hey, it won first place at the Fly Tribe Freestyle Championships, but what do they know? What do they know? We'll judge for ourselves. Here we go. I'm such a jackass. Oh, okay. Nice. Oh, I couldn't do that move. Not the first time. Not consistently. Nice flow there. I like that. Oh, I like this flow here. That's okay. As soon as you do a Matty into a trippy spin, you've got me. I'm immediately like, oh, you're good. You're good. That's like the signature move that makes me, oh, very nice. I did not see that coming. Very nice. Little repetitive, but nice. It's like just, sometimes you hit the beat twice. I like it. This is good. Little rewind there. This is good. What's this video transmitter? Is this a DJI 04 Lite? It looks a little bit narrow field of view. All right, I think we're losing steam. Oh, little gap. That's a nice way to sort of, as you've like pulled your freestyle move, you're kind of running out of flow. You're maybe running a little out of steam. You just hit a gap, break it up a little. That's good. And then you put these, so I thought you were going to miss that one. You put these high risk, high reward moves at the end after you've got your flowy stuff out of the way. That's smart. That's tactical thinking. All right, getting a little bored with that. We've seen it. I guess you're limited to the area you're in, and you've kind of pulled all the moves out. You're kind of, nice. Yeah, you got to crash eventually. Good run. We getting back up? All right. Yeah, okay. Nice. Was it like a mandatory 2-minute run or something? I guess it must be. Just do everything you can do. Oh, there we go. That's something new we haven't seen. Little rewind there. Oh, nice. There you go. Up the degree of difficulty. Come on. Oh, shut up. Where was that? Oh, that's a hard trippy spin right there. That is a difficult trippy spin. Well done, Boo FPV. Well done. That's a good run. All right. Well, I think you've earned it. Subscribed to Boo FPV. That's a good run. Has he got any other stuff? One take. Oh, I love one takes. Let's do one. Oh, I love Office Parks too. Come on, give us something good. Oh, I love Office Parks. Oh, look at those clouds reflected in the windows. Just the geometry of Office Parks is so inspiring. Oh, nice, smooth flow. Oh, I love it. I love the flow. Shut up! Come on! Okay, still, I wouldn't have pulled that off, but I'm a little gratified that he broke out before he got like a full, 720 rotation to really rub it in. Okay. Oh, nice. See, it looked to me like you came up short and were breaking out early, but you turned it into that Matty, and you really made it look intentional, or maybe it was intentional. That just blows my mind. The ability to lock into that trippy spin like that. I'm so jealous of people who can do that after all these years, and the practice not enough practice clearly, because I still can't do it, but I've tried enough that if I were 60% more innately talented, I just would be able to do it with a little practice. And instead, I have to frickin' work at it, and I haven't gotten it. Where is this office park? This is a great architecture. Nice. That's the style of FPV. Oh, what a perfect place to do an inverted yaw spin. That is like made for an inverted yaw spin. dude. Oh, man. So good. Oh, so good. So good. So good. Oh, that was... That sequence right there was... Oh. That was beautiful right there. That was beautiful. That came together just right. That is really good. Oh, okay. A little flippy floppy stuff. I like that this is more flow than flippy flops. I like flippy flops. I like Spang style, but like my back in the day we did flow stuff. That's a good run, dude. That's a good run. Yeah. Well done. Well done. Boo FPV. And yeah. Boo is the best. All right, now let's be careful. Let's be careful. Now, let's not blow up the kid's head. He's good, but like the best. I may be saying little. Anyway, good job, Boo. Zero wants to know what's the best lipo charger hands down that you recommend. The SkyRC Q200 Neo sounded promising, but I personally know 3 people where they've blown up on. I assume it's still the Hota D6 Pro. I'll tell you what. I am happy to tell you that I have updated as of May 29th, which is not that long ago, but April, May, June, yeah, not that long ago. The lipo chargers page on my website has been completely updated. I've been slowly working my way through the site, basically completely redoing each page. It's taking time, but it is what it is. You know, no longer are we going to just do like add this, subtract that. We're just starting from scratch on each page. Basically redoing the whole site a little bit at a time. So the FPV, the chargers page, I am very comfortable showing you. Like if we go to something like the Tiny Whoop page, which I'm not going to do, there's some, it's clearly in need of a refresh. The recommendations on it aren't bad, but there definitely are some new things that aren't on there. And I'm like, okay, I'm working on it. I'll get to it. But this page, I'm very comfortable showing you because I feel like it's completely up to date. I've added some background information, a little bit new layout that I think is more readable. And then we come to the battery chargers. And the first question is, do you want a charger with an AC input? Which I assume you do. I assume you want a charger that you can plug into the wall and not just a charger where you need your own power supply. So we'll skip down to battery chargers with integrated power supply. The Hota D6 Pro has been my daily driver for years and is a very, very solid choice. I would feel so comfortable recommending it because of how long I've used it and how solid it's been for a very long time. The ISDT K2 Zip is very appealing. Now, it's relatively new. Oh, shit, sorry. Now, it's relatively new, but relatively new. It's not that new, but it's relatively new. So maybe, it may have a gotcha that the D6 Pro doesn't have. But what it's got going for it, the specs are very similar to the D6 Pro. It can do 8S batteries, whereas the D6 Pro, let's bring up the D6 Pro too. The Hota D6. Let's put them side by side. So the K2 Zip can do 8S, whereas the D6 Pro only does 6S. So if you're getting into the 8S world or think you might, that's a selling point. The specs are very similar, 15 amps, 20 amps, 200 watts, 325 watts. The actual AC wattage may be lower. Hold on. Yeah, AC 200 watts. And this is AC, hang on, I gotta find it. Where's the specs? Here we go. AC 200 watts. Okay, so it's the same. AC 200 watts for both of them. The K2 can do 500 watts on DC. If you have your own DC power supply at home, you can do a little bit more. So it wins a little bit on specs. The specs on the K2 are a little bit better. And price-wise, they're almost identical. So one could argue that the K2 is the better buy. The only thing that would give me the tiniest bit of pause would be that the K2 is still relatively new. Now, ISDT is a very trusted name. They generally make good stuff. But I would probably buy K2s if I was buying today. It's got these touch buttons. I don't know how I feel about the touch buttons. You know, I like the jog wheel. Click, click, click. It's a physical tactile. Whereas these touch buttons, you know, I don't know. I'd probably be okay with it though. You know? So, K2 Zip is a good choice. Now, those would be kind of my go-tos. If you want a little bit more power, get the Hoda S6. It goes up to 400 watts. It's a significantly bigger charger. So if you're going to like stuff it in a backpack or stuff it in a suitcase, you really got to need that additional output power, but and yeah. That would be my choice. Those would be my choices. Okay. Good question. Thank you for asking. Teo says it would be super easy to automatically add a last updated to my website. Yeah, no, there's a reason I haven't done that. I don't want you to know just how long it's been since I updated some of these pages because it's a little bit embarrassing. No, I don't want to be held that accountable. No, we're not doing that. Yeah, Blinty.
And I also say I think there's an issue when people do that because people presume that after some amount of time there will be something new or better. So if there's a date on it, you're just going to say like, oh, it's been 3 months, there must be something else there. Or the longer it is, the more you're going to think it's not valid information. Yeah. So the goal would be to just keep it updated enough that it's valid, and then you don't have to worry about when it's posted. But obviously you're working on that.
Well, right. I mean, there's a certain point after which it really needs to be updated. And, like, I go back and forth because, like, I'm like, well, should I just, like, take the page down if it's out of date? I'm like, well, that doesn't seem right. So I don't know. I go back and forth. There are days, and I'm just going to be honest about this. There are days when I go, maybe I'm not doing right by the community or my viewers by having the website not be more up to date, and maybe I should just take it down. And I think if I did that, a whole lot of people would miss it and would wish that I hadn't done it, and it's probably not the right decision. But I do struggle with it a little bit, I guess is my point. Anyway, I wish that when their stores have no problem keeping up to date with all the new products. The new products come in, they put them up on the, you know. So, like, clearly it is a solvable problem, but I don't know exactly what the right solution is for me. So, anyway, blah, blah, blah. Smokaruna asks, is there a way to get perfectly stable 04 Lite gyroflow video? Yes, some people have done it. It has to do with correctly soft mounting the camera, and it has to do with the PWM frequency of the ESC. However, not everyone is able to get these results. Some people get good results. Many people are unable to get good results and just never get it. I would say that if image stabilization or gyroflow is a key requirement for you, it's a must-have, do not use the 04 Lite. Because I don't think or if you decide to go with the 04 Lite, realize that you may be throwing that money away. Like, you're going to buy or build a little micro drone with the 04 Lite. It's going to have terrible, jittery image stabilization. You're going to start doing things to try to fix it, and so maybe you'll fix it, and then you'll be happy, which some people have done, or maybe you won't be able to fix it, and ultimately that's just going to become a beater drone that you fly around and you can't use the image from because you can't stabilize it. I strongly advise, if you care about image stabilization and if you want to get the best image quality, get the 04 Pro. I think the 04 Pro is usable certainly down to 95 millimeters, no problem, and probably down to 85 millimeters with a few compromises. When I flew the Flylines 85 with the 04 Pro, I was not unhappy with how it flew. It wasn't the best ever, but if I wanted a miniature cinematic drone to get good quality cinematic footage, the Flylines 85 with the 04 Pro, I felt like it was usable. I don't think I would go down to a 75 millimeter with the 04 Pro, although that does exist. I think there are too many compromises there. And I think that the chances of you absolutely needing a 75 instead of an 85 are low. But I don't know your situation. But if I really cared about image stabilization, I would just skip the 04 Lite altogether because it's just not consistent enough. So, here's a super chat from Marty Sepp, who said, thank you for 10 euros, Marty Sepp. Is a call out of RSSI from the Edge TX the same as the RSSI OSD value in the goggles? Maybe. No RSSI OSD in KISS. I'm trying to compromise. Sometimes we still lose telemetry, but we still control the quad. What about that? Okay, so let's start by stipulating that the telemetry values that you see in the on-screen display are the same as the telemetry values that you see in the radio's telemetry screen. That data comes from the same place. I'm talking to somebody right now who is having a problem, and he describes the problem as the battery voltage that I see in the OSD is different than the battery voltage that I get on from my telemetry sensors. And I'm like, that's not possible. And he says, yes, it is. And so now we're going to try and figure out who's right and who's wrong and what information we're missing here. But that battery voltage just is, Betaflight doesn't have like one battery voltage or RSSI that it sends to the OSD and a different battery voltage or RSSI that it sends to the telemetry sensors. Okay, it's the same information.
You can set. I'm sorry. You can set per cell though. Can't you change it to per cell or whole pack?
So there's different. So that's my guess is that what he's looking at is a different OSD parameter, and it's not actually battery voltage. Maybe it's related to battery voltage in some way. I don't know. Right? Like Blunty points out, you can set Betaflight to show you the average cell voltage instead of the pack voltage in the OSD, right? And that would create a difference there between battery voltage and what you're seeing in the OSD. As far as RSSI goes, what complicates RSSI is that older systems reported RSSI as a percent, and newer systems report RSSI as dBm, decibel milliwatts. And dBm is a better value because dBm is absolute value on a scale. It's like saying, if I said to you, how much gas is in your car's tank? And you said 75%. I go, well, I'm trying to figure out how many more miles I can drive the car. How much gas is in the tank? And you say 75%. Do you see that you're not giving me the information I need? I know roughly like that the tank is kind of pretty full, but I don't know exactly how much more gas, how many more miles I'm going to get out of it. Whereas if you said 15 gallons, right? Oh, well now I can do some math. It's an absolute number. That's what dBm is versus RSSI percent. RSSI percent is like, well, if I have 100% RSSI, I guess that's pretty good. And if I have 50%, maybe that's bad, or I don't know, right? But it's kind of meaningless. So when you look at RSSI in the telemetry, you may be getting dBm. When you look at RSSI in the on-screen display, you may be getting percent, depending on how they're set up, and there may be a discrepancy there. But at the end of the day, it's the same information. Now, what about when you lose telemetry but still have control link? In that case, it's because the upstream telemetry transmission is so weak. You've got a 1-watt transmitter sending your control link out to the drone, and you might have a 10 milliwatt telemetry uplink sending the telemetry data back, and eventually the telemetry can't get back anymore, but you still have control. At that point, you won't get RSSI telemetry anymore. You won't. And that's why the on-screen display is so important for RSSI. Because with RSSI in the goggles, as long as you have video, you know what your control link RSSI is, and you know if you're about to failsafe. But if you don't have RSSI in the goggles and you've outrun your telemetry link, so you don't have RSSI in the controller, you don't know if you're about to failsafe, and that's kind of a problem. So there you go. I hope that was helpful. Blunty, there was a super chat that came in before we started the queue. Can we get that out of the way before we lose it? What was that fella's name? Can I see that? Viewer activity. Jerry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry. Okay, Jerry, this is your super chat. Apologize it took us so long to get to you. Jerry, thank you for $5 New Zealand dollars. Hey, Dad, what's your thoughts on the new SpeedyB F405 all-in-one? Looking at using for my first 3.5-inch. Have you checked out the iFlight SkyViz goggles? So the SpeedyB F405 all-in-one. I do know some people using this and are having good results with it. With all-in-ones, the big question to me is always reliability, but it's $55 all-in-one. 40 amp ESCs with Blue Jay. That's solid, right? What else we got? Does it have a plug for digital video transmitters? It doesn't look like it does. It may not. So you're going to have to solder on your digital video transmitter, which is a little bit unfortunate. It's a little unfortunate. Not the end of the world, but it's nice to have if you have a digital video transmitter. Built-in Bluetooth, so you can configure it wirelessly. You know, for $55 and 40 amps, what's a voltage rating? That's what I was looking for. Is it 1 to 3?
There's a DJI plug on there.
Is there a DJI plug?
Yeah.
Where?
Bottom left of that. Over there? Oh.
Where?
Never mind. I'm crazy.
Okay. I mean, if it was there, I'd be happy. Here we go. 3 to 6S. So, like, I know a couple people who are using this and who say that they've had okay results with it. It's $55. That seems like a pretty fair price. I would probably be willing to give it a punt, and maybe it would work out okay. There's few sure things in this world, but I'd probably give this one a punt.
Yeah, it says it definitely has a plug, so that's good to know.
Yeah, but I didn't see a plug. Oh, yeah. That picture definitely has a plug. I mean, that's a plus. Here's the plug right here. How did I miss that? Also, why won't the page load? Okay, well now the page won't load. I guess we'll never know. It does have a DJI plug. Great. Here's a super chat from Color123 who asks, what are the benefits of being a patron? Here's a picture from Super Guy who literally has it right here. Yeah, it definitely has a plug. Okay, good. Good to know. Confirmed. Super Guy, I can't tell if you're just wanting to give me an opportunity to plug my Patreon. The main benefit of being a patron is that you enjoy and value my content, and you believe that if there's something you value in this world, then eventually it makes sense to financially support it. Now, what you're expecting me to say is, join my Patreon and I'll sing and dance for you. Or you'll get special exclusive content that no one else gets. Maybe I'll even send you a prize. I don't play that game. I don't play that game. I'm a simple man. I just make content and throw it out into the world. I have never, I'm pretty sure it's true, I have never put my content behind a paywall. And I just give it away. And you benefit from it, I hope. And at some point, maybe you'll go, damn, this Bardwell guy's all right. He's done a lot for me. And you'll decide that it's time for you to join my Patreon. Because you understand that I have to pay the bills. I have to eat. You know, my family, I have a family. We have, people need, there has to be an exchange of value for value until we all have universal basic income and we can just live on a beach plucking fruit from the trees like the Garden of Eden, you know. So you get value from my content, and then 90% of the time you just go, cool, thanks, that Bardwell's a pretty cool dude. 90% of the, more than 90% of the creators I watch, I don't join their Patreon. I just enjoy their content. Now, I do watch ads. I do have a subscription to YouTube Premium, so I do support them in that way, but it's very passive. And then occasionally, I just watch the shit out of one guy's content, and I'm like, I should join this guy's Patreon, right? God, all right, fine. And I do. And that's it. That's it. When you reach the point where you're like, I've watched a lot of Bardwell's content, I should really join his Patreon. That's when I want you to join in. And I want you to stay a member. What I'd really like you to do is forget that you joined, leave your credit card subscription up, and just continue to pay me $2 a month for the rest of your life. And then I can just retire on that if enough people do that. But I would at least like you to just stay a patron as long as you feel like you're getting value from my content. Now, you do get access to my Discord server. That is the one exclusive thing that I have that it's only for patrons. It's a pretty awesome Discord server. There's awesome people on it. There's a lot of resources for troubleshooting, for exchanging knowledge, and so on. The Bardwell Discord, is it active at all? Yes, it's incredibly active. There are something like around 1,000. Hang on, let's find out. What am I going to do? Server settings. Users? Where are users? Where are the users? Can I just go to server settings? Members. There we go. Members. And then what I want to do is prune. I'm not going to prune. Last seen more than 30 days ago. Right. So it looks like there are 772 members who haven't been seen in 30 days and who don't have a role. So those are presumably inactive members. Let's see. Oh, there we go. 7 days. 772 members. I'm not going to do that, but so we have a lot of members, 5,000 members, of which 5,500 members, of which about 700 are inactive. So it's very active is the takeaway. If we go to Patreon chat, 8:36 p.m. People are on there right now. Asking questions, talking. There's a troubleshooting forum. People ask troubleshooting questions. Get help. You can see most of these have been responded to. It's very active. I love it. I love it. Anyway, so that's what you get if you join my Patreon. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Oh, I've broken the... Sorry, Blunty. I broke the live stream chat. If you go back to it. There we go. All right. Continuing with the super chats. AdamEgg asks, thank you for $10, AdamEgg. I have my milliamp hours calibrated in Betaflight for a 1300 milliamp hour battery. If I change to a 1500, is changing the milliamp hours from 1300 to 1500 good, or do I need to recalibrate for the larger battery? No. If you have calibrated your current sensor, then it doesn't matter how many milliamp hours are in the battery. Yeah. The current sensor is still accurate. The only thing you would want to change is the threshold for when you get a warning that you've discharged too much current. Yeah. But the current sensor will still be accurate. Thank you, Marty Sepp, for another 249 euros and a compliment about the brilliant answer about RSSI. Super Guy asks, will a more expensive stack guarantee a better flying drone? No, not at all. Can cheap hardware yield equally good quality? Yes, 100%. 100%. More expensive stuff sometimes has more expensive components or additional features, but 1000% you can get great quality, great flying drone out of cheaper equipment. The number one place I think you should spend money if you want to make a drone fly better is, and I want to acknowledge that I'm pulling this right out of my butt, but the number one place I would say to do that would be the motors. Like, you could find inexpensive flight controllers that you know are they are built to acceptable standards and can fly well. You can find plenty of inexpensive frames that are more than adequate. And I'm not saying that you have to spend a lot of money on motors. Like, the difference between a $20 motor and a $30 motor is probably relatively small in terms of performance. But the difference between a $20 motor and a $12 motor is probably noticeable. And it doesn't mean you can't build a quad on, if it flies okay on $12 motors, but I think you're more likely to get good results if you put a little bit more money into your motors. Everything else, as long as you kind of do your research, I think and motors too, but I think motors least of all, as long as you do your research, you can get good value and good performance out of inexpensive stuff. Are there customs issues when ordering from DJI? As we learned on yesterday's live stream, DJI is withholding their flagship products from shipping to the United States. So, like the Goggles 3, DJI will not ship to the United States. The Mavic 4, why do you say presumably?
They have not made a statement that says that. The only thing they made a statement about was Mavic 4, and they just said flagship products. So I don't want to make an assumption. Like, we don't know that for sure.
Yeah,
I just feel like
okay.
We should say it.
Okay,
yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. But we've noticed that, like, the Mavic 4 is not available in the United States, and they say, we will not ship this to your region. The Goggles 3 say, we will not ship this to your region. But the Goggles N3, it's fine to ship to our region. So there are issues. Whether they're customs issues, I don't know. I mean, then on top of that, there are tariffs. And when they arrive, you may be asked to pay a tariff. So, yeah. And that's the thing that kills me about the tariffs is, like, you buy the product and then it's just a total crapshoot whether you're going to get hit with the tariff. Because some stuff sneaks through. Even now that the de minimis exemption is gone, I'm still received some stuff from overseas and didn't get hit with any tariff. And I'm like, I don't know. But, like, if you're buying a $500, goggle, the tariff could be a substantial amount of money. So... Anyway. Crash Dude says, what are your thoughts on accessibility within the FPV hobby? Are people with limited hand and arm functionality able to enjoy the hobby? Yes, it depends. I've known several people who have problems with either reduced dexterity or maybe they have a tremor, right? And these people are often able to fly, but not with the level of precision that someone might have if they had, full function of their fingers, hands, arms, etc. There are some FPV pilots. There's more than one FPV pilot who have a single hand and fly amazing. What? Come on. And you can see this guy doing it right now. They just mount the controller sideways and fly with one hand, and they're as good as anybody I've ever seen. Better than me. Here, I've done a live stream clip about it before. Why can't I full screen it vertical? Lame. Look, this guy's doing a freaking trippy spin one-handed. Right? So, if you have like a tremor or something else like that makes it hard for you to make precise hand movements, you can still fly, but it's more difficult to be as precise as some other people would be if you didn't have that. But if you're missing a hand, the good news is you could be just as good as anybody, if not better, as long as you're, willing to work for it, I guess. Well, we discussed this. No. We will never get a last updated thing. Do your own research. Media. So if you have the goggles X from Walksnail, I recommend buying directional antennas. The stock stubby antennas are okay, and I don't think you're going to get significantly better range by upgrading to an aftermarket stubby antenna. But if you upgrade to an aftermarket directional antenna, you can get significantly better range. And I would recommend that you do that. Excuse me, I got a little bit of a sniffle because the allergies are here. I would recommend that. Let's see here. We got a super chat here from Color123. Thank you for a $5 super chat. Rotor Riot guys feel like they fake enthusiasm, especially the dude with eyeliner, Ladrib. It's funny you say that because, I don't know how long it's been since Drib has actually been in a Rotor Riot video. He's moved on to, be... I don't know what his position is. Is it president? Is it vice president? Is it executive officer of Unusual Machines? And I'm not sure how active he is with Rotor Riot anymore. I'll say this. I've been accused of faking enthusiasm in videos before. There are times when I've done a video and I've been... It's funny because... if I do a product review and I was like, this product is so exciting, guys. That's the kind of place where you might be like, are you dialing it up from 7 to 9 just because you're on camera? And on some level, yes, on some level, the camera points at you and you dial up the energy, right? Because you're on camera, you're performing. I'm talking louder now than I would be if I were in the room with you, right? I am enunciating in a certain way, right? And so then if something happened, I might seem like I was faking enthusiasm. And I don't think it's so much like you're faking enthusiasm insincerely, although obviously, that does happen in the world. It's just that because you're on camera, you've dialed things up from a 5 to an 8, and just everything is a little bit more intense. But I've been accused specifically of faking enthusiasm in times when I was sincerely delighted. And you can't see into my heart of hearts, but I can tell you, something happened and I was laughing and I was loving it. I'm thinking maybe it was my rates video where I turned the rates up to 2,000 degrees per second. And the first time I hit the stick and the quad just went... And it just went insane, and I cracked up. I was loving it, and I was so joyfully happy. And I was like, yeah, let's lean into this for the camera. I'm not saying I was overselling it, but I also am not gonna I can't laugh on camera. I was like, this is a sincere, joyful moment, and people like to see that, and I'm gonna just let it flow. And the part of me that is metagaming all the time when I'm on camera, because while I'm recording a video and performing in a video, I am simultaneously directing the video and scripting the video, right? So there's a little part of my brain that's directing the video, and the director is saying, yes, this is going to be so good, right? But that doesn't mean that the joy that I'm expressing is insincere. I'm not a faker. I wouldn't feel good about myself if I was just manufactured fake emotion for the camera. I wouldn't be able to, look at myself in the mirror. And so somebody gets on that video and they say, oh, this is such fake enthusiasm. And I'm like, it is not. This is the one time where you're really seeing a sincere emotional reaction. And the thing is, you're so used to seeing fake, manufactured, scripted emotion on the internet that you don't recognize actual joy when you see it. So, I can't say what is, in the Rotor Riot guys' hearts. If what you see looks fake and it doesn't appeal to you, then don't watch it, right? If you don't enjoy it, don't watch it. They're going to make the kind of content that they're going to make, and, but I will say that just because something looks kind of fake, doesn't necessarily mean that it is. I mean, sometimes it is, but doesn't mean that it is. Teo says, I happened to be in the background of a Rotor Riot video once and was accused of faking enthusiasm. Yeah. You just don't know. You guys are a little confused about the relationship between Red Cat, Rotor Riot, etc. Rotor Riot is a subsidiary of Unusual Machines. Unusual Machines owns Rotor Riot and Fat Shark. Rotor Riot and Fat Shark used to be subsidiaries of Red Cat. Red Cat spun Rotor Riot and Fat Shark off into Unusual Machines. Rotor Riot and Fat Shark and Unusual Machines are not tied in any way to Red Cat. Now, there are people who are involved with Red Cat who are also involved with Unusual Machines. But in terms of the corporate structure, Unusual Machines and Red Cat are distinct, as my understanding, and Rotor Riot and Fat Shark are Unusual Machines, and then Red Cat is Teal. Who else is Red Cat? It's 3 companies. There were 5 total. It's Teal Drones. It's the remote telepresence over the internet company, and there's one other that I don't remember who it is. Okay. So, yeah. And maybe they work together. I don't know. Like, does Red Cat buy parts from Rotor Riot or Fat Shark? And then it gets a little bit murky because, like, if Fat Shark sells a product and Red Cat buys the product, are they just 2 unrelated companies, which in terms of their corporate structure they are, who are doing business with each other? Oh, well, what's wrong with that? I don't know. It's a little murky. I think it would be fair to call them sister companies, but anyway. Moving on. Have either of you ever built your own solar generator for FPV or camping? No, I have not. So I have an Anchor battery bank solar generator, whatever you want to call it. It's fantastic. I think it's possible to build your own for cheaper, but not that much cheaper, and it's going to be a lot of work. A lot of work. And you're likely to end up with an inferior product. Okay? So I think unless you have a source for cheap cells, which is going to bring the cost way down, I think it's probably better to just save up and buy a commercial one. Right? If only because of the integration, the inverter for 120 volt mains power, USB chargers, USB-C fast chargers, a screen, a battery management system, a charging system, a solar MPPT controller. Like, if you look at something like a Jackery or an Anchor or a Blue Yeti battery bank, there's a lot of technology in there. And each individual piece of it, you're like, well, I can buy a charge controller, and that's $100. I could buy a USB-C charging. And like, ultimately, you're going to do a lot of work putting it together. It's going to be janky as heck. And you're not going to save that much money, potentially. And so I think I would just probably buy one if I want to go that direction. But frankly, if you really want to carry a 75-pound box out, what I would do is I would get a little 800-watt generator from Harbor Freight, and a gallon of gas. And that thing will just, it's going to be cheaper. It's going to be way cheaper. It's going to be about the same weight or maybe a little lighter than this big battery bank. And yes, okay, you're burning fossil fuels, but like you can run it all day on a gallon of gas and charge batteries, and that's actually the way to go, in my opinion. Gadget RC says, could you comment on the new drone executive orders? Yes. In fact, Blunty, we talked about, we didn't do this on Saturday because it didn't come up, but we talked about, I think that we kind of need to at least address this. And so I'm glad you asked. So first of all, there are 2 new executive orders related to drones that came out June 6th. They are restoring American airspace sovereignty and unleashing American drone dominance. And there are links in the Discord. Blunty, if you can paste the links in the YouTube chat as well. You can also just search for them. And one of them wants to incentivize American drone manufacturing. So let's see what it says. Within 30 days of the date of this order, I'm not going to read you the whole thing. We're not going to sit here and read the whole thing, so don't worry about that. The Secretary of Transportation shall issue a proposed rule enabling routine beyond visual line of sight operations for UAS for commercial and public safety purposes. So one of the things about executive orders is that there are things that the president has the authority to do and things that the president can say he wants done, but doesn't have the authority to actually order. And what's interesting is that I'm pretty sure that the president has the prerogative to tell the administrator of the FAA to promulgate a rule. Because the FAA is, he works for the president. The president can just fire him if he doesn't do what he wants. I think that this is actually probably doable. I don't know. Blunty, do you have an opinion? And if you say no opinion, then we'll just shut up. But I know that no. There's the FAA Reauthorization Act will get passed by Congress. That is a law, and Congress will say via the law, the FAA should implement remote ID. That's the thing that happened. And then the FAA has to promulgate the rule to implement remote ID. Do you think that the president has the right to say to the FAA administrator, hey, as long as you're not contradicting the law, I want you to do this additional thing?
I have no idea.
Damn. Okay, I'll just talk out of my ass then. We're much wiser than I am in that respect. It seems to me like as long as what the president is saying doesn't contradict the laws passed by Congress, which bind the FAA, then the president can say to the administrator, hey, you work for me, go do this thing. And so it seems like this one's interesting because, routine beyond visual line of sight for commercial and public safety purposes. When I hear routine beyond visual line of sight, I'm like, yes. And then I hear commercial and public safety purposes, and I'm like, oh, that's not going to help hobbyists at all, is it? I don't think so.
No, this is exactly what they were already going to do. This is just a written thing that was already going to happen. Like we talked about 30 days ago, they were preparing to release the BVLS in about 60 days, the NPRM, to start planning the rule for BVLS. So it's the exact same timetable the FAA already had. So I'll just say that.
What you're saying is, what it sounds like you're saying, without saying it, is that the White House is taking credit for something that has already been in the works for a long time and acting like it was their idea.
I don't know if they happen to know that time frame, but this happens to be, or if the FAA knew this was going to come out, that could be the other reason that we heard this. But we heard a couple months, we heard a while back that this was the time frame.
You're saying it's possible that the FAA anticipated that this would happen and so preemptively started work.
I don't know, but they told us it would be 2 months, a month ago. And
In
now
other
it's a
words,
month from
this
now.
executive order, as of June 6th, did not initiate this process. This was already in the works before June 6th. That's just a fact. All right.
Correct.
Fair enough. The Secretary of Transportation shall establish clear metrics for assessing the performance and safety of BVLOS operations. So we're going to implement BVLOS operations, and we're going to track how effective they are. Great. Within 120 days of the date of this order, the Secretary of Transportation shall initiate the deployment of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence! Whoa! AI! We're going to have AI, everybody! What's AI? I don't know. Where's the definition of artificial intelligence? I don't know, but they gotta be AI.
They have an OMB memorandum that goes for all the departments that talks about the AI implementations you're required to use.
What are they? Is it you must use Grok?
I don't know. You have to read through it. I haven't read through it.
Okay. We gotta use AI, everybody. AI is the future. Oh, hey, I've got this tool that works really well and has been successful for a long time. Yeah, it's called a compass. It's a compass. It tells you which direction north is, and it's super useful for navigation. Doesn't have AI. I don't want it. You got an AI compass? I need to train a large language model. We're going to feed it compass data, and it's going to use a large language model, machine learning, neural network to tell us which direction north is, and it's going to be better. ChatGPT, what direction is north? North is that way. ChatGPT, that's south. Oh, my mistake. North is that way. All right, we're going to use AI. Yada, yada, yada.
I put a link in the chat if
Further
anybody wants it.
rulemaking to eliminate the need for individualized waivers. The trend of eliminating individualized waivers for BVLOS data flights is a good one. I just am skeptical that it's going to end up helping hobbyists.
Well, they want to do it for all flights. So this is all
But
waivers.
it specifically said commercial and public safety purposes.
Oh, that's the one above this section.
That's section 4. This
We're
is
on
section...
C.
Well, section 4, B, C, 1, 2, 4, etc. We're still in
But these are
section
each
4.
different things. So A and B are different things than C. C
Oh, I see. I'm
is-
sorry. Section 4A. I apologize. You're right. Okay. Well, that would be great.
So C is all waivers that are under 107 is what they're trying to do. Is basically say, hey, stop manually doing these, get an AI to judge them, and make them spit out an answer automatically so you don't, yeah.
Like, that's great because 107 waivers are very tedious to get. Although I'm skeptical, like an AI is going to look at my waiver application and it's going to reject it and it's not going to tell me why. And that'll actually be just like the current process. So actually, that's no worse. At least it'll happen quickly.
I was going to say, can you imagine, though, if you it actually just runs through an LLM and spits it back in like 20 seconds?
I mean, if it worked, that would be great. I mean, so far, I'm not too mad about this.
I bet these will have personal manual approval, though. Like, you know what I mean? There'll be some kind of BS in the way of it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Explore options to assure that UAS flights beginning and ending in the United States can operate without being subject to onerous requirements applicable to manned aircraft. Oh, that's good. Stop
This is
treating...
specifically the international navigation rules. So things you have to do, like if you fly technically in international airspace, you have to have a pilot registration and you have to have a certain aircraft registration. And so that technically applies for all aircraft, and we define aircraft as UAS. So this is trying to exempt them from that.
And
even though that hasn't really been applied to them, I don't think.
If I'm on a United States ship on the high seas... Even though I'm in international waters. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of this seems to be like, hey, we don't have specific rules for drones for XYZ, so you should make them.
Updated roadmap for the integration of civil UAS into the National Airspace System. Roadmap doesn't really mean anything. It's not really.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like 2/3 of a year, you should tell us what you're going to do. You know what I mean? That's like a real weak point.
All FAA UAS test ranges. Okay. Whatever. Electrical VTOL and landing program.
Yeah, so part of this also is to try to force them to allow eVTOLs to work. Like basically you're trying to rip away some of the regulation that would prevent people from operating a AAM vehicle, advanced air mobility, which is these like air taxis we've talked about in the past. There are a lot of regulatory hurdles to getting them flying and a lot of red tape, a lot of approvals, and some of this is trying to remove or streamline some of those approvals. We're basically asking them, you need to figure out how to streamline those approvals.
Yeah, more eVTOL stuff. Full extent, yada yada yada. Okay. Where's the, strengthening? Here we go. Strengthening the American drone industrial base. I think this is in some ways the meat of this. Prioritize the integration of UAS manufactured in the United States over those made abroad to the maximum extent permitted by law. So this is like super vague because the devil is in the details. Like, does this mean that no one is allowed to buy foreign drones at all? Well, all agencies, all federal agencies. I mean, they kind of are already not allowed to do that. So what's changed here? I don't know. It feels like a situation where they're going to go to some federal agency and say, hey, you broke Section 7A of this executive order, and they're going to make up some reason why you didn't prioritize UAS manufactured in the U.S. If you're an American drone manufacturer, though, you've got to be slavering right now. An update to the covered foreign entity list, that already exists. They're just going to, I guess they're just going to update it within 30 days. I mean, Blunty, any thoughts about this? The foreign entities list already exists.
Yeah, it's not clear what they're implying there. I suggest that they're going to have some kind of guidance that's not on this paperwork as to what's actually happening with that. Because, otherwise it would be what's happening already. Right.
So the covered entity list, for those who don't know, is companies that basically the federal government can't buy drones from. They can't do business with them, more or less. Foreign entities. So presumably they're going to update the foreign entity list. They're not just going to go, oh, well, here it is. It's the same one that it was 30 days ago. Take actions to secure the United States drone supply chain against foreign control or exploitation. So, this, something will happen. We don't know what these actions will be. Presumably, the people who drafted this executive order, and I mean, obviously the president didn't just sit down and be like, here's what I think we should do. And, this didn't spring from his head. Like there are, lobbyists and advisors and et cetera who come up with these things. Presumably there's an idea about the rules that they intend to make, but we won't know what those are until they make them. Export control restrictions, expedited export of U.S. manufactured civil UAS to foreign partners. So we're gonna export our amazing drone technology, and our foreign partners are gonna be like, crikey, thanks Americans, we're just gonna keep using DJI. I don't know why they were Australian. Right? They're just gonna keep using DJI, right? They're not gonna oh, these American drones are so good. Blimey. Direct. Now, here's where American drone manufacturers start slavering. Direct loans and loan guarantees, equity investments, and co-financing. Oh, the federal government is going to throw money at American drone manufacturers. And I got to say, that's what China's been doing for decades. So, that's part of how they got so good. Drones to the DoD, to warfighters. Yep. We're going to expand the blue UAS list, and so on. So that's that one. And then restoring American airspace sovereignty. Let's see. We control our national airspace. The Task Force, National American Sovereignty Task Force, review and propose solutions to UAS threats. Proposed solution to UAS threats. Put your head between your cheeks and kiss your ass goodbye. If I was a drone defense company, I'd be happy to hear this. Regulations to protect the public. Notice of proposed rulemaking. Establish a process for restricting drone flights over fixed site facilities. Isn't that already prohibited? Make assessments about military. Basically, trying to come up with rules to protect secure air sites. A new way to publish NOTAMs and TFRs for drone geofencing. So the idea there is you'll be more easily able to geofence drones automatically. Go ahead, Bunty.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do like that, though, too, because this also means, like, our apps will be way more accurate because they're basically forcing them to build a way to update the apps better. So
yeah. Full enforcement of applicable civil and criminal laws when drone operators endanger the public. So when I read this paragraph, it says to me that there's a shift in tone, that drone operators are going to be further vilified. And how exactly it manifests itself, I don't know. But it suggests a shift in tone more than something concrete. Go ahead, Plenty.
Yeah, what this reads to me is that, hey, you should be enforcing things when people do bad things, and then you'll see the next section. Here, section 7 is detection, tracking, and ID. And it talks about providing better ways to track drones and using more technology to mitigate and getting them identified in the airspace. And like, this is basically network remote ID is how I read this whole section. Yeah. You know, if you don't know what network remote ID is, that means it's not just broadcast remote ID where you're broadcasting around you. Right. Network remote ID means that you are connected to a database online. So you're either on a 5G modem or you're on a Wi-Fi connection, and you're connected to the internet. So your drone position is updated to a server constantly, so everybody can see where you are across wherever, not just in the local area.
Right, right.
And there's also a big push for them to integrate this because of AAM, the air taxis that we talked about, in addition to other aircraft. But they really want, you know, when we talked a little bit like 30 days ago about how the FAA had told us it was a 2-month forward, they also told us that there's going to be a big push to get every single thing in the air tracked. So they don't want that. They're talking about, like, in the next 5 to 10 years, even private planes will all need to broadcast ADS-B at all times. Like, every single thing in the air they want to be tracked at all times. So I think this is all part of that big push to make all that happen. It's unfortunate, but it sounds like and where this is all going to come to a head, if you don't know about it, is ultralight and similar things like that, because they're going to want ultralights to have ADS-B or some kind of tracking on them too. There's like a that was fought really hard and has barely any regulations. So this is going to be a mess. I just want to prepare you for that. They want to track everyone, not just us.
Yeah. Okay. They're going to have automated real-time access to personal identifying information. So basically, your remote ID transponder gives like your FAA number, but to tie that back to your actual identity, the federal agency has to go to the FAA and say, hey, tell us who this person is. FAA number 1234567 is Joshua Bardwell. And they want to automate that. I don't think they're saying that information will be available to the general public, but to basically law enforcement agencies. If I'm a local cop and I see remote ID broadcasting FAA number 1235678, I can go to an FAA server and I can look that up without having to actually, like write a letter or do a subpoena or whatever the normal process is. So making that easier. Recommendation to the president using a risk-based assessment. That just means they're going to pull it out of their ass. They're not going to do a risk-based assessment. They didn't do it about remote ID, even though they're supposed to. They're just going to make this stuff up, probably. The Attorney General shall explore integrating counter-U.S. operational responses as part of joint terrorism task forces for the purpose of protecting mass gathering events. This one, to me, like, obviously, like I say, the devil's in the details, and the implementation matters, but this one, to me, I have thought for a long time, you hear stories about drones being used offensively in war, and I know this is a topic that many people are uncomfortable with, and if we go too deep down that topic, we may start a shitstorm that we're not going to start. But I think about the potential use of drones for terrorism-related mass casualty events or mass gathering events. And I think about how easy it would be to fly a drone over a football stadium, an open-air football stadium, with just GPS-based navigation. I don't even need a control link. I don't need a video link. I just do waypoints, and I could put a drone over that stadium and then drop whatever your imagination could come up with. And we're all good people here, and so maybe our imagination can't come up with anything, but there are definitely bad people out there who are much more imaginative at those things. And to me, that seems like a big problem that will eventually come to a head. And it's more luck than skill that it hasn't happened yet. Because the defense is, like, what's the defense against that? And so I look at this and I say, thank God someone is thinking about this at all. Because I won't say that no one has been thinking about this. I'm not the only person. Somewhere out there, someone at the FBI, someone at the Joint Terrorism Task Force is clued in enough about drones, and they've put the pieces together, and they've gone, oh, shit. oh my God. This is a disaster. We have nothing. Our pants are completely down about this. And they're just as freaked out as I've been. It's nice that as someone at the executive level is thinking about this. And then what's the solution? Well, I don't know. I don't know. Hire me for a massive consulting fee, and I'll tell you what the solution is. Joint Terrorism Task Force. Let me ask you something. Just completely hypothetically. Everybody's mad. Oh, don't work with the military. Don't work with the government. If an FPV pilot worked with the Joint Terrorism Task Force to try to come up with defenses for mass gathering events, would the FPV community lose their shit the way that they did when Rotor Riot was like making weaponized drones? I wonder. Anyway, moving on. That's it. So I heard some people saying there's going to be a new executive order that bans DJI. That doesn't seem to be in there. It basically seems to be, how could we broad stroke this, Blunty? Number one, give money to American drone manufacturers and continue to prioritize American drone purchasing over foreign drones to the extent that an executive order can do that. Make eVTOLs and air taxis more feasible. More integration of remote ID, and easier to find out where drones have been and who is flying them. What else, Plenty? Any other broad points? I don't know.
Yeah, basically just make sure we can get the drones out of the sky. Make sure the drones in the sky can be tracked. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. The world of the future increasingly looks like there are more and more commercial drones, more and more industrial drones, more and more government, military, police, search and rescue, official drones, and fewer just cool guys flying FPV drones for fun. Or at least, yeah. It certainly seems like that is the way the world is going and has been going. So let's smoke them if we got them, I guess is what I would say. And you never know. All right, so that's the executive orders. Thank you guys for hanging in with me. This is kind of a big deal. So. And in the meantime, we're just going to keep flying our drones and having a good time. And F the man. Okay. is the HD0. We're just going to move on to the next thing. Santos. Blunty, by the way, before I move on, thank you, Blunty, for weighing in. I know that you are way more tuned in to the regulatory side than I am through your work with the FPV Freedom Coalition, a very, very important entity who works to shape regulation to the benefit of drone hobbyists. Despite the Herculean nature of that task, some would say Sisyphean nature of that task. Greek classics, everybody.
Just as an example, Dave Messina is president of FPVFC, and he has been, I believe, at 2 years worth of BVLOS meetings. If we have recreational in the first BVLOS NPRM, it'll be because Dave has been helping push it. And if not, we tried our best, basically. But all the other things in there, the things that will apply to us eventually, or that apply to Part 107, also we're trying to reduce the things and get the right technologies and all that kind of stuff. So, that's just one example of how we try to help drone hobbyists as much as we can. We're a nonprofit. We work off only donations, so we always appreciate help. If you wanted to sign up at fpvfc.org, it helps out.
Yeah. fpvfc.org. We'll just pull that up right here. FPV Freedom Coalition, little free plug there. If you guys want to support them through a membership. Am I a member? I'm sure I must have been a member. I should probably re-up or make sure I'm up. Yeah, that's the least I could do. Yeah. So, all right. Question from Santos, who asks, is the HD0 Box Pro goggles analog good enough for freestyle and bando flying? They say it is on par with the good analog receivers like Rapid Fire and Fusion. They don't do frame combining and sync reconstruction, but they have other technology that is supposed to be really good. I'm not aware of a rigorous test that compares them side by side, and unfortunately, I don't have them. I don't have them to test to say yes or no. But HD0 in general makes a good product, so I think it's probably worth a punt if you want box goggles.
Somebody asked about the iFlight SkyViz goggles earlier. Have you seen those?
Yeah, somebody did it. That's true. Thank you for the reminder. iFlight SkyViz goggles. So this is a new analog goggle from It's an analog goggle? I guess I'm not 100% sure about that. I think it is. SkyViz goggles from iFlight. Analog goggle, yes. Built-in Fusion receiver. Okay, so that's the key. Frame combining, sync reconstruction, that's all summed up as a Fusion receiver. This is the gold standard for analog receivers. Foldable antenna design, that's nice, but we're all going to want to put aftermarket antennas on there anyway, aren't we? Probably, just to get more reception. If they had a built-in patch, that would be cool, but I think they don't. Third-party HD video receivers, 100 hertz LED refresh rate, OLED. Doesn't say whether the HDMI input supports 100 hertz. That would be important for Walksnail and HD0 to get the lowest latency. -7 to +2 diopters. That's a fairly wide focus range. 56 to 72 millimeter IPD. Looks good.
So here's the problem I have with this thing.
Go ahead. I'm just looking at the specs. 44 degree FOV single screen, 1080 resolution. Looks pretty good, Blunty.
30 FPS CBBS DVR. Why?
Versus what?
Anything that's not 30 frames per second? You want 30 frames per second? I mean,
it's analog. It's analog. Does it matter?
I mean, if you're going to use, but the goal, I don't know. It's 2025. If you're buying an analog goggle with an HDMI in, you're expecting to eventually use digital on it. That's my 2 cents.
Well, but the ability to record, are you suggesting that we should be able to record DVR from the HDMI input?
At least 60, if not 100. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So that's an interesting one. That's an interesting one. So, HD0 goggles. So let's, a little history recap. You may already know this plenty, but I don't know if the viewers do. The HD0 goggles, when they very, very first came out, they could record DVR from the HDMI input. And then HD0 took that away in a very early firmware update. And my understanding, I don't know if there's been an official statement on this or if I just heard this or if I just made this up in my own brain. But my understanding is that the reason they did that is there can be issues with, like, if you can record an HDMI input, HDCP, copy protection, copyright issues. And they were like, no, we're not going to do it. We're not going to allow you to record from the HDMI input. They took it away. Recently, they were convinced to bring it back. And it's amazing. I love it. I use the HDMI record functionality on my HD0 goggles to anytime I'm in the field and I need to record an HDMI feed. I used to take my whole laptop out and run OBS with a capture card. And now I just have the HD0 goggles. Boom, plug it in. Boom, done. Good. Recording. It's fantastic. But I would be surprised if the SkyViz goggles can record DVR from the HDMI input. Because my understanding is generally they don't let you do that. They assume that the Walkstill video receiver or the HD0 video receiver has a built-in DVR, and you're just going to use that.
Gotcha.
That's how I see it. I don't know. Thoughts?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then the question is analog is 60i 30 FPS? Is that how it works?
Yes, I think so. So analog is...
Because was it PowerPlay 60 FPS DVR, or am I crazy?
I don't know. So let's recap that. An analog signal is either 25 frames per second or 29.999 frames per second, depending on if it's NTSC or PAL. It is actually 60 half frames per second interlaced, right? But you're only getting 30 full frames per second. And so if you're recording a digital DVR, you can't record half frames with the digital DVR and interlace them. It doesn't work. So you're going to take one half frame, you're going to combine them together, you're going to record that as one full frame, and that's 30 frames per second, or 25 frames per second if you're PAL. So if you're recording an analog feed, I don't think you're losing anything by recording 30 frames per second. Let's look up the PowerPlay uses H.264 encoding at 60 FPS. So what is it doing? What is it doing?
Because it doubles it, but I don't know what that means.
Like, what does it record as each frame? Someone knows this. Like, this is not a mystery, but we don't know this. Is it recording, half frame 1 plus half frame 2 plus half frame 2 plus half frame 3 plus half frame 3 plus half frame 4 every 1/60th of a second, and it's just repeating the previous frame, right? Or is it doing some kind of deinterlacing? I don't know. But what about HD0, analog DVR? Does it record 30 FPS? Or does it record 60 FPS when it records analog? It does have a deinterlacer and a scaler. I guess my point is, here's what I'd say. If all you're doing is recording an analog feed, I don't think 30 FPS DVR is that big of a deal. Because the feed itself is only 30 FPS anyway, and it's analog, so who gives a shit? 60 FPS is nice, but I don't think 30 FPS is a deal breaker. If it was going to record the HDMI input, then the 30 FPS would be a complete abomination because you're taking a 100 FPS or a 60 FPS signal and you're down-resing it, or down-framing it. But I don't think it does that, so...
So basically, then, yeah. So do you think this goggle makes any sense in the market?
Right. So, I mean, it depends. Let's assume for the sake of argument that it's a very good analog receiver and that the goggle is like a good goggle. What's the argument for a new analog goggle at $479? SkyZone Skyo 4X, $500. Why would you buy this goggle over this goggle. This goggle being a known quantity, well-established, pretty good performance. Yeah, like, obviously, we have to see how it performs. Maybe it's, like, really good in some ways. Right? But they're basically... Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, and then you have to say, well, then why? And then you have to consider, like, is there a world where you would never want to use HD0 or the better quality of the HD0, and then you go another $100 for HD0 goggles, which gets you even better quality. And so yeah, it's just a really tough place in the market.
Yep. So like, if you were going to use this with Walk Snail, you could make the argument that you'd be better off buying the Goggles X and an analog module instead of the analog goggle with the Walk Snail standalone receiver, which I think that would probably be the way to go. Obviously, it depends on what percentage of your flights are analog versus Walk Snail. So yeah, they've got this position as a premium price goggle in a world where premium analog goggles are, and I'll tell you what I think is happening. And I want to be very clear that this is just me talking completely out of my ass. This is not like me revealing insider information, but why would iFlight come up with a new analog goggle in 2025? Who is it that is buying shitloads of analog goggles and also buying shitloads of iFlight drones, some say? Who would it be? Could it? I'm doing a church lady bit here. Remember Dana Carvey, the church lady? Could it be Ukraine? Or Russia? I think what's happening here is that, like, iFlight sees gobloads of Sky Zone goggles in combat footage, and they're like, I want a piece of that action. And the reason this is a controversial take is that's completely illegal. The Chinese government would absolutely kick iFlight in the nuts. Diatone got in big trouble. Like, I heard rumors that people at Diatone went to prison. And that Diatone as a company, shall we say, completely changed ownership over them being accused of being too blatant about marketing to the military. But when I see iFlight releasing new analog goggles in 2025, I'm like, why did they R&D this? Who do they think their customer is? I mean, and I suspect that a lot of that is they're hoping that it will find its way onto the battlefield. And if anyone from iFlight is watching this, they're going to be like, no, that's not true. Bardwell, don't say those things about us. We follow all the rules. And I'll be like, yes, of course you do. I was completely out of pocket. We know, don't we? And that's why, yeah. That's why they won't talk to me anymore or something like that. Anyway, that's my theory. Because I think you're right, Blunty, that this is, it's questionable that hobbyists will like, oh, I'm going to buy these SkyViz goggles. It's questionable that iFlight expects to recoup their R&D costs on these goggles by selling them to hobbyists. I think that's a very questionable premise. Anyway. How do I know if I have to mess with my offset when calibrating my amp sensor? Honestly, you would just need to get parameter values from the manufacturer. You need to just get that information. You're not. It's going to be very difficult for you. Like, if you offset is correct, you can adjust the scale and you can get it calibrated correctly. But if your offset is wrong, it's difficult to get the correct value. Someone out there is like, no, it's not difficult. I know how to do it. Well, good for you. So what we would want is like a default CLI dump. Like, it should come from the manufacturer with the correct value. Wait, this is an ESC. What's the correct offset value for this? Oh, man. Like, presumably... Yeah. Presumably the flight controller that comes with it has a correct offset. No, no dice. It's not out there. So what I would do is I would look for, so this is the Goku GM45 ESC. I would look for the Goku flight controller. Here we go. Presumably all of the Goku flight controllers have the same, have the correct offset. And so what I would do is I would try to get a CLI dump, or you could just ask Flywoo support, like email Flywoo support, you never know. But I would try to get a CLI dump for a Goku flight controller and hope that the offset was correct. We're not going to find it though. Yeah. So, yep. I wish I had a better answer for you. I'm sorry, I don't. Leftmist says, I have a Goku flight controller. If you DM me, I can send you a dump. Fair enough. Will Betaflight 4.6 have a feature that lets you control the throttle, but we'll try to hold the XY position, or if it's possible? Yeah, when you have Betaflight 4.6 in position hold mode, if you raise or lower the throttle, it will climb while holding position. Yep. That's how Betaflight 4.6 works. No. If you have a quad like the Pavo 2.0 Pro that can be run on 2S or 3S, can you only have the proper battery voltage if you change it in Betaflight every time you switch between them? No, not at all. Not at all. They can auto detect. Here we go. Let's plug in a flight controller. Real quick. German Torres. How can I get better at turning left? It seems like my weak side. Is it related to the position of my head? No. Just practice turning left. You will get better. It is nothing about your ergonomics or your physiology or your mechanics of your body. You just turn right all the time and don't turn left, and so you've gotten good at turning right. Turn left more often. Practice. That's it. That's the answer. Such a quick and easy one. I wanted to jump on it. People always want to find a complicated explanation. Why is it that I can't turn left? Is it because I'm right-handed, but I was raised playing left-handed piano by my parents who are from the left side of my country? Is that it? No, just turn left, you dope. Practice more. I mean, it's like, is it because my left hand is got some kind of a physiological defect? Oh, well, maybe. What could it be? Just practice more. Power and battery tab. So what you want to do is make sure that the maximum and the minimum cell voltage are set correctly. The max cell voltage, that determines how it auto selects the cell count. So if that's set to 4.3 and you plug in a high volt battery, which is charged to 4.35 volts, it will misread the cell count. So if you're using high volt batteries, you need to change this to like 4.4. That's one thing you need to do. And that will help it auto select correctly. If you're not using high volt batteries, 4.3 is fine. The other thing you do is you go to the PID tuning tab. No. This is a CLI option, I'm pretty sure. There's a CLI option. And you no, not that one. The one you want to make sure is disabled is force battery cell count. You want that set to 0. Do you see that mine is set to 8? that means that this flight controller will always assume I have an 8S battery. But if you set force battery cell count to 0, it will auto-detect the cell count every time you plug in. And then, the other thing is, there you can also have it change PID. If you have different PID profiles for 2S versus 3S, you can also have it automatically change the PID profile. But that's not what you're asking about, so. Yeah, my question would be, why aren't you already automatically detecting the cell count correctly? And what I would suggest you do, hi Bardwell for the past, look at this video, Betaflight 4.0 Auto PID Profile by Cell Count. Auto PID Profile by Battery Voltage. Auto Profile Cell Count. That video will tell you how to change your motor output limit and your PID tune based on the cell count. Okay? Let's just take a look at how my office used to look way back in the day. What do we got here? So I still had my old brown desk. I hadn't switched to this desk yet. We got some analog goggles here with these orange ready-made RC antennas. I used those antennas to do analog receiver testing. I tested all those antennas on an antenna tester to make sure that they were equally good, so the antenna wasn't throwing off the results. In fact, I think this is the DVR I was using. These are my old Fat Shark goggles with the colorful skin on them. Let's see. Up here on the left, we've got Phantom FPV's hat, I'm pretty sure. Maybe that's not quite Phantom FPV's hat. Maybe that was a different time. I hadn't got that yet. Maybe it was a different hat. Still got my good old Heiko soldering iron. Had that forever. This sign that my friend gave me was still working. The light stopped working eventually. Got my magnetic tool rack. Yeah. Let's see. Same chargers. Hadn't yet upgraded to the cabinets. Yeah. Let's see if I recognize any of these drones. This is a Rotor Riot CL1 right here. This drone I don't remember the name of. Yeah. Oh, look, 4-blade propellers. Interesting. Anyway. Good times. Micah Ali, thank you for a $10 super chat. Have I seen FPV affect, add, or subtract from other parts of your life? I mean, FPV adds to a lot of parts of my life. I mean, obviously, in that it's my career, it makes many other parts of my life possible because it's how I make a living. But I think that's probably not exactly what you were getting at. Does it subtract from other parts of my life? Well, again, the same way that any job does. But again, I think that's probably not what you were asking. As a hobby, FPV gives me, I would say the biggest thing, maybe not the biggest, but a unique thing that FPV gives me is the ability to feel athletic. Let's just sum it up like that. I look at dudes who do dirt biking or BMX biking, snowboarding, they're on a ramp, they're shooting up in the air, they're flipping around, they're coming down. I look at dudes who do parkour and they're jumping off buildings, climbing up buildings, I look at dudes who do, base jumping, skateboarding, they're doing tricks off of buildings. And I'm not that guy. I've never been that guy. I did go through a phase in my 20s where I vaguely did not parkour exactly, but I would climb in buildings and jump off buildings and stuff. Very, very light parkour, let's say. Had some fun with that in my 20s, but just never really been that guy. And now I'm a 50-year-old dude, and I'm never probably going to be that guy, right? I'm not suddenly going to become wildly athletic. And that means that there's all these, experiences that I'm missing out on in my life. I'm also not particularly graceful. I don't dance. I mean, I do dance. I just don't dance well. No one wants to see it. And so when I fly FPV drones, I get a sense of speed, of movement, of athleticism, if you will, of grace, of flow that I don't get any other way. Maybe except for, like, if I take my car to the track, which I did a track day recently, or mostly it's in the simulator, and that's not the same as the real world. But, like, if I get in a vehicle and I can go fast and I can interact with the environment, but, like, it's expensive to do that in a car, and if you crash, it's really, really bad. But on a drone, you can have all these experiences, and you don't go to the hospital at the end. And that is an experience that I wouldn't be able to have any other way than putting on an FPV goggle and zipping around the environment. And I think that's one of the best things that FPV gives people is you take people, well, no one can fly, right? So you let everyone fly, but you take people who could not experience a certain type of movement and athleticism, and you give them the ability to express themselves in that way and experience that. And I think it's really cool. Yeah. Is it okay to get a 2150 or 2200 kV motor with a 3300 milliamp 4S battery? That depends entirely on the size prop you're using. The kV and the battery voltage and the prop size are 3 legs of a triangle. Okay? And you can't answer that equation unless you know all 3 of those data points. So for some prop size, a 4S 3300 milliamp hour battery at 2200 kV is just fine. Maybe. I don't know. That's a pretty big battery. That's a pretty heavy battery. So like a 2200 kV motor on 4S suggests about a 6-inch or 7-inch prop, just based on the because the motor the voltage and the kV make the RPM of the motor, and the RPM of the motor implies the prop size. So 7-inch prop is what you're shooting for. That feels about right. Although, why are you using a 4S battery on a 7-inch prop? You absolutely should be using a 6S battery. You absolutely should be using 6S. Why are you using 4S on a 7-inch? That's a mistake. That's objectively a mistake. Nevertheless, if you are going to run a 7-inch prop on a 4S battery, I think that 2100, 2200 kV is in the ballpark of correct. So, like, let me do some math here. For a 7-inch prop on 6S, like 1300 kV for cruising to about 1800 kV for freestyle. So 1300 kV divided by 0.66 is around 2000 kV. That's the 4S equivalent. 1800 kV divided by 0.66 is 2700 kV. So you would want to be, that seems high. That seems really high. I don't believe that. That's the 6S advantage. So 2000 kV feels like a good cruising speed for a 7-inch prop on 4S. 2200 kV, a little more power. I think you're in the ballpark of correct. And a 3000 milliamp hour battery feels about right. Maybe it's even a little bit small, to be honest, for a 7-inch. But why are you running a 7-inch on 4S? Don't do it. Okay. Let's see. We got any other super chats? No super chats tonight. I don't know why. I do not have a racing sim rig. We're going to close out the stream with something relaxing. You turn the audio down. The audio's too high. There we go. We're just going to close out the stream with something relaxing. Let's see. Other questions? 7-inch motors for efficiency. 7-inch motors for efficiency. 29 millimeter, 1300 kV. You pick one. Yeah, get the AOS Supernova motors. Oh. Yeah. Blunty, you want to read questions while we take the last 10 minutes? I just thought we'd do something relaxing.
An interesting game to be relaxed by.
I find this game really relaxing. I think that...
Is it like a Sisyphean relaxation?
Yeah, it's very Sisyphean. You know this game, right? Of course you do.
Oh, yeah.
See, people talk about this game as a rage game, but I think it's a meditative game to learn to stay calm when life brings you down.
Oh. Hey, one must imagine Sisyphus happy, right?
Is that a saying?
Yeah. There's a philosopher who concluded that Sisyphus must be happy because people are born to work, essentially. That's the idea, and it's just a thing people quote a lot.
Interesting. I thought it was going to be that, this is the hardest jump in the game. I've pretty much got it nailed, but that still means I only get it 1 out of, 10 times. I think that, this game is very much a parable for life. In that, you make progress, you lose progress, and, you just keep trying. Eventually you get better, you get further. Hopefully you make more progress than you lose. Sometimes you start all over. But if you got to keep a cool head, and oh, so close. And when I fall down and Bennett Foddy goes, "Oh, you lost a lot of progress. That's a big punch in the gut." I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm just having a good time doing what I'm doing."
All right.
Oh, go ahead. Give me a question.
Hey, Bardwell, I've been flying my 5-inch quad for over a year, but as of recently I changed out my props for the exact same ones. If that's the first time in a year, that's extremely impressive.
Yes.
And now the quad's making weird prop noises and burning up batteries. Why?
Oh. Okay. One of your props is out of balance? One of your props is out of balance? Just throw out all 4 of those props and get 4 new ones.
Yeah, also make sure you've, if this is the first time you've changed your props, you may not have remembered originally when you put your props on that you need to cinch down those nuts really well. So make sure that the props aren't slipping and they're secured.
That's good. Killing batteries, huh? Oh, that was really good. Oh my God, that was a great move. Wow. Oh, I'm a little shook by that. I never do that move in a compound. I always do one then the other. Hold on, let's not fuck this up. Wait for it. Oh, I'm fucking it up. Oh, come on, sit down. Oh, no. Come on, buddy. See? I'm having hope. That's the problem. You can't have hope. Okay, Blunty, there we go. Give me another question. Whew.
Well, I was also going to say, it could also be that you're mounting the props upside down.
Oh, that's good. So he's used, yeah.
Yeah. So check on that.
Yeah.
How often do you fly drones for fun, as in not for video?
I'm not sure I could put a time on it, a frequency on it. I mostly fly for work, but I try to find ways. I'm doing a Game of Whoop videos now, and it's just an excuse. Or Whoop Gal, Game of Whoop. It's just an excuse to do that because it's fun to do that. But as long as I'm doing it, I'm going to make videos about it and promote it. So I still don't know how. I don't actually know the right way to do this. I'm still figuring it out. Like, I know if I do a little compound pogo, I should go high, but I'm not sure that I'll go out far. So I think I'm going to fuck this up. So let's see what happens. Yeah, I fly for fun, but anytime I'm flying for fun, I almost always will, like, find an excuse to make it about work, too.
What?
Oh, that was great. Oh, my God, that was so good. All right, I probably will get this next one. I think I know this next one. You can't see it, but, like, if you just fling yourself off, you've got a good chance of hitting it. This one, I haven't got figured out yet. The right way to do it. All right, what's the next question, Blunty?
Can I use a diversity receiver with only one antenna?
Yes. So there's no problem with using receivers with only one antenna. It's transmitters with one antenna that burn out.
I will say, technically, you might burn the telemetry out, depending on the receiver, right? But it's probably unlikely.
Oh, that's fair. You're right. You have telemetry transmitter on the receiver.
But
I actually was picturing a diversity video receiver, actually.
Oh, okay. If you happen to also, like, if you have a diversity receiver that is...
Come on. No. So close. I almost saved that. Go ahead, Monty.
So there's two different kinds. There is a true diversity, which means you have two sets of chips, one for each antenna. And then there's antenna diversity, which means you have one set of chips, and it picks the antenna based on which one's stronger. What that means is if you happen to have antenna diversity and you remove an antenna, nothing will be wrong. It will use one antenna all the time. And actually in ExpressLRS, you can select an antenna. So for the true diversity, I would say you can also just go in and select which antenna you want if you've removed the other antenna.
And then you won't burn out your telemetry. No.
Telemetry, yes.
No. Come on. Get up there. Don't fall. Okay. No, okay, we'll go this way.
Remember guys, relaxing. This is a relaxing game.
It is relaxing. Do you see me raging?
When I'm relaxed, I think when I'm relaxed all the time, I go, no, oh my God, no.
It's all good. I'm having a good time. Blink. Okay. Looking good. Okay. And pogo up. Here we go. Pogo straight up, not out. Straight up, not out. Here we go. Okay. Looking good. And now we do the little kind of offset pogo, which gets you more height. For some reason, if I just pogo up like this, I don't get as much height. But if you offset it like this, he gets like a little spring action in his arms. Come on, don't slide. Yes, okay. Good. Now for here, we're just going to go like that. Okay, looking good. Okay, and we're back. See, we fell all the way down. Now we're back. It didn't take that long. Next question. Good. You got another one?
All right. Let's see.
I don't know how to do this move. I've literally never done this move correctly. I can see that there's some flatter parts I need to aim for. I just don't know how to get there.
What is the best way to improve quickly in the sim? Are there exercises I can do? I'm logging hours, but probably could practice a lot more efficiently.
Like if you do race courses is a short answer. That's not going to necessarily make you a better freestyle pilot, but if you race and you try to get faster times at racing, you will progress and be a better pilot. That's just a fact. And races they just exist, and they're there for you to consume and use. The other thing you can do is you could pick a freestyle move that you want to try to do, and then you could work on doing that move, in a sort of a structured way. Just don't be just like flying around. Like, have some intent. All right, here we go. I don't know how to do this. Will the little offset pogo work? Do I need to get further down? So I'm just gonna fall though, right? Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, that's the furthest I've ever gotten. That's literally the furthest I've ever gotten. See, I fell down, but I also got the furthest I've ever gotten. Now, this is actually a pain in the ass. I have a really hard time with this move right here. This is a hard move. And I can't exit the game until I clear this move, because otherwise that hat will move up to the top here and make my life even more difficult when I reset. So I have to make this move before I sign off. It's a really hard. I don't know why I find it. It's so. They say that the anvil jump is the hardest jump in this game, but I don't have much trouble with the anvil jump. I've kind of figured it out. And I figured it out by watching somebody else do it, by the rec way. You know, I didn't figure it out myself. But this one, that was horrible. That was horrible. So. Okay. Here we go. You got another one, Blunty?
Yeah, let's go. Let's see. Here we go. Rick Sanchez says, my Mobby 8 Walkstand was flying great for 8 batteries, but on the 9th it started having uneven motor spin when armed, and throttle would stay up even when throttle stick is down.
Uneven motor spin when armed. Throttle staying up even...
Sounds like your gyro got noisy all of a sudden.
Maybe.
And so the question is, is it your gyro electrical that got noisy, or did you hit something or crash or land hard and then crack the frame or do something? You know, that's typically what happens in these cases.
Yes.
For instance, if you had a cracked frame, the drone would be sitting there on the ground vibrating way more, and if the crack's in the right place, it would cause these kind of oscillations in the drone.
You think maybe he cracked his frame while he was
look for physical damage or changes first. That's the first thing you want to do. But either way, typically that, you know, what your experience is a sign of noise in the drone. The drone, you know, isn't getting a clean signal about movement. It thinks the drone's moving slightly, and so it's oscillating, you know, itself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to randomly. I think like a broken frame, especially because it's a whoop. Oh, that was a horrible jump. You know, he might have cracked the frame, or might have a problem with the prop. Maybe a bad motor. I think that's less likely.
Basically, something changed. So you got to figure out what changed. And then if you literally can't figure out anything that changed, no props, motors, everything is good, then presumably something in the electronics changed. But that's kind of, I don't know. It's odd, but it can happen. I mean, technically, there's a percentage chance in every flight.
Yeah. See, I'm getting good at this. I've actually gotten better at this. I've been in this second half of the game for a while now. And on one of my other computers, oh no, don't slip, please. I'm in the first half of the game where you have to go up the staircase to the security camera, and that staircase is so hard to me. And I really, just before you get to the orange jump, and the staircase is so hard. So that one I'm pretty good at. All right, we'll try this one more time. No, I can't try it one more time, because if I fall down, then I have to do the hat jump again before I... Okay. This isn't gonna... Okay. I think this is gonna slip. I'm gonna slip. Okay, that's all right. I'm fine. I don't want to have to do the hat jump again tonight. This is okay.
Ciati is streaming.
Is he? Have I gone over his time?
We are. It is 9:02. Ciati posted in the chat that he is about to start his stream, so you guys can head over there, as we'll be ending pretty soon.
All right. Yeah. In fact, we're going to end right here. We're going to end on a high note. I'm ready to tackle the snowballs, the snowmen, and this is a good place to stop.
All right.
See? No stress, right? Just a little bit of excitement, but no stress. And that's how life should be. All right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.